Okay, so here we are. Unfortunately, I cannot get an English version of this document. This document is the educational law document in Egypt released in 1981. It is law number 139 on our constitution, and it covers all national education. The reason I'm bringing the national education document into focus is that recently, in the past 2 years, a decision was being made policy-wise that all international and private schools will be subject to these laws in this document. So I selected about 3 parts of this law that I am going to discuss. First of which here, okay, it's article number 6. It says, and I'm loosely translating, that religious education is an elementary part of all educational stages, and to pass this course you have to have a 50% at least of the grade, and the grades do not count towards your total score. In that you got a low grade, it does not affect your GPA. It's a pass or fail course basically. But before I get my comments, I'll just read the rest. The Ministry of Education will organize tournaments or competitions in reciting the Holy Quran, and give the people that win those competitions prizes and incentives based on what the National Education Council sets. Now, my comment here on religious education is that it does not cover all religious sects in the country. So that's number one. And when they put an additional stipulation here, that does not cover all religious sects also. So there is no stress on Christian religious education, although there is curriculum available for Christian religious education in our curriculum, or in our national curriculum. However, there is no stress or incentives available for Christians. They are a minority here in Egypt, Christian minority. It's about 7 or 8%, but that does not dismiss their case. Also, it's a really touchy subject because parents cannot really choose to raise their children without religious education if they choose to, because as we can see now, it is stressed that all students must receive religious education, and it basically alternates between either Muslim religious education and only one sect of Muslim religious education, which is Sunni Muslim religious education, or Christian religious education. Pardon me. Now, moving on to Article 7. I'll translate first, then I'll give you my point. So based on the decision of the Ministry of Education, after taking the opinion or the input from the governor, the respective governor, the ministry will set the beginning and end time of the school year. Now it moves on to another point. It says that the governor can increase the amount of students in a class if necessary, without exceeding 10% of the amount of students already in class. Now, there's also an added concern that they stated in this article that for technical educational institutions, class sizes cannot increase over equipment number. So if we have laboratories with 20 equipment, you can't get 21 students, obviously, well, which is good thinking. But however, this whole 10% increase of students in classes sorry it opens the door for random things like Classes are not really set to accommodate more students, and usually private education institutions, private schools, international schools already have waiting lists and are already operating at maximum capacity. So if you get one or two or three or four, it can be as low as two more students will cause a very big problem. And to counter that, schools have to add stipulations in their admissions that they will accept basically 10% under what maximum capacity is, to avoid having clashes in this law. And last minute they will accept people off the waiting list if the ministry does not use this. So I think this needs to be revisited and checked out. Now, the third article I want to have a look at, it's article number 21. You can be punished with a fine of 10 Egyptian pounds, which converted to US dollars is about 50 cents. A parent of a child or a legal guardian of a child that has not attended school or is absent without an excuse from attending the school during the week that they get their books, which is basically first 1 or 2 weeks. If you do not attend, you get a 50-cent fine. And if the infringement or you violate this law again and again and again, you can get to expulsion. But what I'm arguing here is that those 50 cents are not enough to incentivize parents to send their children to school. The amount here must be adjusted for inflation. Again, this is a law set in 1981, and I don't think this amount has been adjusted since. So this needs to be revisited and adjusted. Now, one of the laws down here says that you cannot, I think it's this one, you cannot increase tuition above 7 to 14% per year, and this applies really towards private education institutions and international schools, because the public schools do not really have tuition because we have free education here. So this is causing a bit of an issue with private education and international schools, because they cannot really reinvest in their buildings, and they cannot set plans for expansion. They cannot adjust for inflation. In 2016, we floated our national currency while this law was still in place, and this caused a huge issue back then. So if we adjust that between 7 and 14%, this law, of course, the good thing about it is it prevents private school owners, from being too greedy and arbitrarily increasing tuition. Obviously, that was the intent when the law was put in place, but it harms those people that need to increase their tuition to just break even, or even need to increase tuition because they have improved their service. So you are putting everyone in a lane where they are operating at a certain level. They want to improve service, they want to buy better books to educate their students, they want to hire better teachers, so obviously they want to pay more money on that. They want to spend more on professional development, and their budgets cannot accommodate for that, because they cannot increase tuition to improve service, or the vice versa, because to improve service they want to invest. They cannot invest because they're not sure they're going to get the investment back by increasing tuition, because it's not an option anymore. So it obviously is a very hot topic in private education in Egypt. It's not a national or a public opinion topic, because of the number of international schools here in Egypt is very small. So the segment affected is a very small segment. But it is an issue to be considered. If we are going to take international education in Egypt farther ahead, and if we're going to go really to the next level, we really need to revisit this. Obviously, we need some sort of mechanism to protect parents from absurd tuition increases, but this mechanism cannot also harm schools or prevent schools from investing in themselves and improving their process, or maybe even some schools want to move locations to expand. Some schools, like my school, is doing a really good job so far, and it needs to invest a bit in its own faculty, but they are maybe putting plans in investing and moving to a new location, and this is a very big investment. They need to buy land, they need to build a new building, they need at least overhead costs for about 1 or 2 years in advance. So all of this they need to consider. How are they going to get the money? If they're not going to get it out of pocket, how else are they going to get it? If all their profits maybe covers about, let's say, 10 or 11% of their total revenue, for them they might as well put all of the money. They close the school down and put all of the money in the bank. The bank gives an interest rate here on deposits. It's about 15% here so far. So yeah, we should really consider revisiting this in order to take a step in private and international education, to take a step further and evolve the whole process. That's my 2 cents in. Anyways, thanks for watching.